Okay, so in this video, I'm going to explain um, more about solving quadratic equations by providing you with more examples. So in this video, I'll show how to solve an equation like this one. It says 1/2 4x minus 1 raised to 2 is equal to 4. Okay, so although this is a quadratic equation, saying a quantity squared doesn't mean that you really have to expand the expression. Well, you can actually expand the expression, but maybe we could find another easier way of solving it. Okay. Now, if you look at the given equation, what you see is that there's a 1/2 outside, and a 1/2 is just the same as having the 4x minus 1 squared over 2 equals 4. If you are used to what normally or what people normally say, cross multiplication, okay, they use it as a technique in solving equation. You could actually multiply the 2 on the other side. Okay, now just to give you a reason behind that, the cross multiplication is basically multiplying both sides by a certain number, and that is 2. Okay, so it looks like we're just cross multiplying, okay, but it came from multiplying both sides by 2. But anyway, so after multiplying it by 2, you should get a 4x minus 1 squared equals 4 times 2. And that will be 4x minus 1 squared equals 8. Okay, so from here, you should know that whenever there's a square and you want to find the x, your x is within a square. Again, you can expand this expression, but we will try to avoid the expanding because the other side is just a number. Okay, so 4x minus 1 squared could be plus or minus the square root of 8. So when there's a square, meaning when there's a square on this side and you want to eliminate the square, what you need to do is to take the square root of, they say, both sides, okay? And that will give you a positive because there are two values, a positive and the negative square root of 8. Okay. And then from here, you have 4x equals, so adding 1 on both sides so that we can remove the minus 1, we add 1 on both sides. The right side will become 1 plus or minus the square root of 8. And finally, we divide by 4. So x is 1 plus or minus square root of 8 over 4, which you can further simplify as the square root of 8 is the same as square root of 4 times 2, but the square root of 4 times 2 is 2 square root of 2 over 4, because the square root of 4 is 2, so that means you have a 2 outside the square root sign. Okay, so these are the two values of x. There are two values of x. The 1 plus, so x could be 1 plus the square root, or 2 square root of 2 over 4, or the other x is 1 minus 2 square root of 2 over 4. So these are the solutions to the equations. Okay, so as you can see, we didn't expand the expression to solve the equation. Okay, so we use some properties of equalities. We multiply both sides by 2. So see here, we multiply both sides by 2, and that's the same as cross multiplying the 2 to the 4. That will give you 8. Then you have 4x minus 1 squared. Now the key here, every time there is a square, to remove the square, you have to take the square root, because the reverse of square is square root. Okay, but take note that there are two possible values, positive or negative, then square root of 8. And then work on the equation. Try to work on the equation. There's a minus 1, so you add 1 on both sides. And then you simplify. Okay, so 1 plus or minus square root of 8. And the over 4 that you see here is just done so that we can eliminate the 4 on the x. Okay, and finally you get two values of x that you have to write separately in simplest form, and that is how we got the two values for x. Okay, let's change the question a bit. Okay, suppose instead of 1/2 4x minus 1 squared equals 4. So let's create a problem number 2. Suppose what we have is 1 over 2 4x minus 1 squared equals 4. Okay. So again, we can apply cross multiplication. So 1 is equal to 4 times 2 times 4x minus 1 squared. Okay. And that will give us 8 times 4x minus 1 squared. Okay, some people will make a mistake of distributing the 8 inside. That's wrong. Okay, you cannot distribute because there's a square. So do not do that. Okay, so instead of distributing, what you can do is, why not just divide it both sides by 8? So you have 1/8 is equal to 4x minus 1 squared. And look at this. This is very similar to what we have solved earlier. There is a square, and you want to remove the square, so you have to take the positive or negative square root of 1/8, and then 4x minus 1. And from there, you can now have plus or minus square root of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 8, the square root of 8, same as the one earlier, will be 2 square root of 2. So there's a positive, there's a negative, and then equals 4x minus 1. Our goal is to solve for x, so we don't need the minus 1, we don't need the 4. Let's fix the minus 1. We have to add 1 on both sides. So that means 4x minus 1 will become 4x. But this one will have 1 plus 1 over 2 root of 2. Okay? And then finally divide both sides by 4. So that is your value of x. So 1 plus or minus 1, 2 root of 2 over 4. Okay? And then you can still simplify this. Now if calculator is allowed, you can easily simplify this expression. But if calculator is not allowed, you should know how to simplify 1 over 2 square root of 2. Okay, let's do it on this side. 1 over 2 root of 2, we simplify by rationalization. So multiply the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 2. And then this will become square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 will become square root of 4, and that is 2. So this is square root of 2 over 4. Okay? So our expression will then become 1 plus or minus, that is square root of 2 over 4 divided by 4. And there are so many steps that will be involved in this. Okay? Again, you simplify. So I think for this example, it is expected that you have to use a calculator somehow. That's my guess. Okay? Otherwise, you will go through a series of simplifying. Eventually, this will become 4 plus or minus square root of 2 over 4. And finally, you have 4 plus or minus square root of 2 over 16. Okay, so there are a lot of steps that are involved. So I suggest from this step, or even here, use a calculator, but you have to take it one at a time. plus, so 1 plus 1 over 2 square root of 2 over 4, and then the next x will be 1 minus 1 over 2 square root of 2 over 4. Okay, so this is the value. That means we have 4 plus square root of 2 over 16, or the other one, so this is x, and then or the minus version, so 4 minus square root of 2 over 16. Okay, so these are just like examples, but what you need to understand is how to start the solution. Okay, if you see fractions, you normally apply cross multiplication to simplify it. When you see a square, you take the square root of both sides. Okay, or take this, remove the square, and then you take the square root of the other side. Okay, so I hope that was able to help you. These are considered to be unusual questions in quadratic equations, because normally you see the form ax squared plus bx plus c equations and not in this kind of form. So are the type of question that will challenge your thinking, like how are we going to solve this given that the form is not the usual form. Okay, so you have to apply cross multiplication, you have to take the square root of the other side, something like that. Okay, so that's it.